Unlocking marital bliss.
Hey, I'm so glad to have you once again tuned in to UBC right here watching Unlocking Marital Bliss with Miss Iris Rod. It's a pleasure that you can always give up your time to just come and learn. This is a place and a moment where wisdom flows. And so I am so grateful that you could give your time in to watch Unlocking Marital Bliss. We're shooting from the prestigious Sheraton Kampala Hotel, and this is how things are flowing. And so glad that tonight I have guests that are going to speak to us. And we're going to talk about through the fire. Through the fire. Exactly. You get married and you never know what's ahead of you. But when the fire comes, how many of you are able to survive it? How many of you are able to survive? Are you consumed by the fire? Does the fire kick you out and you go find somebody else? How can you go through the fire? I have a couple that faced fire and they walked through it effectively, and they're stronger than they were before the fire ever came. So I'm taking this point right now to welcome them just after this short break. Welcome back. You're still watching Unlocking Marital Bliss with me, Cyrus Rod, and I would like to introduce my guests today. They have a story to tell, something that will inspire you, something that will strengthen you, something that will empower some of you that feel like you've come to the end of the road in your marriage. You think probably stuff has happened and maybe God forgot you. But these people have a powerful testimony that's going to help you strengthen your marriage and inspire you to be a better couple. So together with me, would you welcome Dr. Zanule? I would like to welcome you on this show.
Thank you, Pastor, for having me.
And it's my tradition when I have somebody, especially a man on this show and a lady, to try to find out whether the lady is married to you or the lady is your sister or what is happening. Who is she? So I don't want to introduce somebody that is just maybe might be a sister or wife, so I might mess things up. So please take the honors.
Thank you, Pastor. I'm married to Josephine.
Okay.
She's my dear wife, and we have been married for the last 23 years. Yeah.
23 years.
Yes, and
That's so
between
beautiful.
us, God blessed us with 5 children,
Okay.
though 2 have gone to be with the Lord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Josephine, you're welcome on the show.
Thank you very much, Pastor Cyrus.
I'm so glad to have you here.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
I have your husband and then I have you. And I'm glad that on Unlocking Marital Bliss, we usually open up. We are free. So there's nothing like, am I speaking well? Am I going well? No, just be at home. And I'll begin with asking, how did you meet that man?
Thank you, Pastor Cyrus Rod, for that question. We met each other.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was in my high school, which is A level,
Yes.
I happened to meet him, to go and stay with my elder sister whom I follow in Mukono.
Yes.
And her husband
yes.
is, they studied together in the same school with my husband, my sister's husband.
Yes.
So at that time, we were staying in Lugazi, where my father was the head teacher of Lugazi SS.
Okay.
But at that time, I had also gone to visit my sister during my S5. So that's when I meet him
In Lugazi.
in Mukono,
In Mokono. Okay.
at my sister's place,
Yes.
because my sister was organizing a baptism for their
Okay.
3rd child.
Yes.
And my husband happens to have a music system and a car,
Huh?
and then he had a video camera. So he was invited to do the coverage.
So he was busy making money at that young
Yes,
age, eh?
yes. I didn't
He was
realize.
the DJ of the place, eh?
Yes. So while he was doing all that stuff, I don't realize that he was watching me. And then after some time is when he asks me how old I am and in which class I am. When I told him I was in senior 5, he was like I was deceiving, but that was the truth.
Yes.
So that ended there.
Yes.
But when I sit my senior 6, I was studying in Mitala Maria St. Valley Kodembe.
Yes.
Yes, Boama. So
Wow.
he used to write me letters. But the
Oh,
one
those
with
days you didn't have email?
nothing,
No.
nothing.
You know, some of our viewers are thinking, writing a letter, what do you mean? They
Yeah.
don't know those are the times we went through.
Yes. So he wrote me letters showing interest in me, but not mentioning specifically that he was
Marriage.
in love with me.
Okay.
But now the final letter which blew me is when he wrote to my dad that he was interested in me, and then he photocopies and sends me a copy at school.
Hey, Lord have mercy.
And at this time, my parents don't
Didn't know
know
anything.
anything that I was involved in a relationship with a boy.
You were in hot soup now.
Yes. So when I get my holidays, my dad calls me, where is your report? I present it, and then he sits me down and he says, what about this letter I received from this
Oh, my
guy?
God.
What
No,
kind
no.
of relationship?
Just a second. Dr. Zanule,
Yes, sir.
what were you up to? What was going on in your head? I mean, this girl is at school,
Yes.
and then you write to her father
Yes.
that I want to marry your daughter?
That's right.
Please tell me, what were you up to?
I have this confidence in me
Yeah.
that I did not only write that letter,
Yeah.
but I followed it up with a physical visit.
Hey,
Because
Lord
in
have
Josephine, I saw
mercy. Your world.
my wife, the mother of my children, and somebody I could stay with. And as she said, when I saw her, I thought she was in senior 3. So when she told me she was in senior 5, I couldn't believe. I couldn't put together the size
Yes.
of the body I was seeing with somebody who was
was
in
too
high
tiny,
school.
eh?
Yes, with somebody who was in high school.
Yeah.
So looking at it, I said, okay, I'll wait. Since she's in she's in high school, soon she'll finish her education and we'll get
Yes.
married. So,
And while she's in high school, you write a letter.
yes, I wrote a letter.
And now your father asks,
Yes.
and you get shocked.
I was shocked. I felt ashamed because the way I conducted myself before my parents and all my friends.
You were the holy girl.
Exactly. Because initially, before we get saved, before I got saved, we were Catholics.
Okay.
And I wanted to join sisterhood. And now this guy wants to
And live a
spoil
life
me.
of celibacy. And here is Dr. Zanule
Who wants
messing you
messing you,
up,
messing
destroying
me.
your future.
Yes, yes. So when my father asks me about him, I told him how indeed we had met. I was shy. He asked me about his family. Our dad was a kind of person who never interfered with what the child's choice was. Was a kind of person who was like, are you happy? Is that the person? Go ahead.
That's it.
Where does he come from? Who are his parents? What do they do? What does he do? Is he able to defend you?
Yeah.
Will he protect you? Because in Muyembe where we are, normally Karamojongs come and take cattle and they kill
Yes.
people. So when I mentioned the Muyembe Mlambo, he was like, oh my God, will he defend you against the Karamojongs?
Wow.
So that was the story. But finally it went on well until today.
23 years down the road.
Yes, we are together.
In fact, now when you add on the years before you married her, that makes it how many years?
25.
25. You are so fast.
Yeah, 25.
No games. Now that is what we call the real men that are needed in this generation. Not the ones that keep running up and down and they're thinking, okay, when? And then you run with a girl for about 5 years, and then that's when you take, allegedly, a knee and say, will you marry me? I want to ask, you guys are amazing.
Yes.
You have a great testimony, but I want to ask,
Yes, sir.
what do men do with women for 3 years and then they say, now I want to marry you? What is happening?
For me, I think, Pastor Cyrus, in the era that we are living in,
Yeah.
people lack a commitment.
Yes.
And people keep on sampling people's daughters
Uh-huh.
because of what is already in their mind, that
Yes.
probably women are different. So while they are engaged with one lady, they are running around with others. So finally, when they get tired, is when they keep packing girls, looking for the probable one.
Yes.
But at the end of it all, they waste time, and actually they discover that women are the same, men are the same.
Yes.
It's up to us to fit in what God has already provided for us.
Yes.
It's not about the person. It's about you acknowledging that God is the author of marriage and that there are principles you have to live up to. So, but because people think that they can find the best person in their own effort, I think is why.
That's why they spend 3-4 years with
Yes.
somebody's daughter, and then they say, okay, now I think I can marry you. I
Yes.
think it's very, very demeaning to the woman.
It is.
Very
And remember, they're not keeping themselves pure.
Yes, they're
sleeping
running around. And
Spoiling
then finally
many.
they say, let me settle with this one.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Now, I would like to take you on now, at least our viewers know how you met. You have 5 children,
Yes.
and God bless you with 5 children,
Yeah.
and you have 3 living. The 2 have crossed over. What would you say? Because I've learned you went through some hard times, and that's why the fire that you've gone through is what I really want to talk about this afternoon. What exactly happened? How did you lose your children?
Well, we had a fatal road accident on the 19th of May 2015. We're coming from home in Nivulambuli, and we're bringing the children to school. 2 were in Mwiri College, primary school. So we came around when we reached Namalemba, now Busembatia district.
Okay.
We're trying to overtake 2 cars, and in the process, as we're overtaking, the 4 tires of the car burst, and the car rode 3 times.
4 tires.
Burst at the
Burst.
same time, yes.
I've never heard anything like that in my life.
Yeah, the cars burst, and I'm told by the onlookers that I was able to control the car for half a kilometer. And then when the car finally stops in the right position, upright position, it was facing back where we're coming from. And looking back, the children were not in the car. It was only me and my wife, and she was bleeding from the head all over here. On my left-hand side, I had blood.
The car had flipped over
3 times.
3 times.
3 times.
Okay.
Yeah. So by the time it stops,
All
It's
your
only-
kids are not in the car.
they're not in the car. All the things we're taking to school, the scholastic materials, the bags, were all littered
On the road.
on the road. So we were given first aid by the cars we were overtaking. There were 2 taxis. So my wife and the children, Joseph, Benjamin, and Enoch, with the mother, they were put in the taxis. And me, the late Joshua, our eldest son, I was put on a pickup and we brought to Iganga Hospital. When Iganga, where we received first aid for some time. But Enoch and Benjamin, the doctors in Iganga told me, you need ICU, and we don't have ICU facility in this hospital. Then they organized quickly to get 2 ambulances. We transported to Mulago. We got in Mulago, there was no attendance. Then we went to IHK.
No one was attending to you.
You know, nobody attended to us. So we went to IHK, and then from there is where we received some attendance and treatment. My wife was conscious. Joseph, our son, was also conscious. And then as they were given treatment, Benjamin also started gaining his conscience. But Enoch, they tried to win somebody in the ICU because all the beds in the ICU at the IHK were full. So I was in and out of the ICU until when they decided to bring us to Case Hospital, where he was admitted in ICU. Benji remained a bit in the IHK, but the following day was also moved to Capstone facility in Nakulavie.
Okay.
Yeah. But when we got in Mulago, we got out of the car, and I told the medical staff that were with us that we were 6 people, but I'm only seeing 5 of us. Where is my son Joshua? So one of the nurses looked at me and said, all through this episode, I've seen you are very strong. I'll tell you the truth. Your son was not able to make it. He's left behind in the mortuary in Iganga Hospital.
Your son is left behind in the mortuary in Yeganga Hospital.
Yes, sir.
Wasn't able to make it.
Wasn't able to make
And you're hearing that, and your wife is with you at that point?
She was in the different ambulance. Me and
So she never got that news
so when I
immediately.
came out, when I was told, I came out and said, honey, Joshua is in heaven. But let's stop thinking about Joshua. It's us now who are still here. For him, he has rested from the troubles of this world. But it is you and I.
And you're
the children-
speaking that in the midst of all this
all
chaos.
this, yes, outside on the, I don't know, the compound, the parking yard of Mulago Hospital. So she that time she got up and started weeping. Yeah, weeping for the boy. Say, honey, take heart. Joshua has rested, but at least for us, we still have a struggle that we must move on with. So I don't know what is going to happen, but let's trust God. So we had one of our daughters, we helped, not our biological child, but she's a child we met at church, Faith Namakula. She was working with IHK.
Yes.
So when we were not receiving any attention from Mulago, she suggested that let's go to IHK. That's why we ended up in IHK
Yes.
hospital.
So now you are 5.
Yes, we are 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're taken to IHK.
IHK, yeah. But when we got in IHK, my relatives, her relatives, friends came up, crowded the place, and I never slept that night. When you come on Josephine's bed and you begin crying, I move to the next bed. You move to Enoka's bed, you want to cry, and move on the next one. So I was going all around.
So you never got any injury?
No, I got this nail went off.
Only that.
And the small,
Just a small scratch.
Yeah, small scratch.
He got held to the steering all through.
You had your seatbelt on?
Yes,
Yes.
both of us, we had our seat belts on. But the kids, because we're using Toyota Impsam, in the middle it has only a 7-seater. We have folded the back chairs to put in their luggage. They were taking
Taking
to
them to
school, and then they were seated here, and you can only have 3 people sitting in the middle
Yes.
seat. So they didn't have seat belts
They didn't
on.
have seatbelts.
Yeah,
And that was the reason they flew out.
they flew out, exactly.
I understand. So
Yeah.
now you have gone through this, but you mentioned something.
Yes, sir.
4 tires
Yes, bursting at the same time.
bursting at the same time.
New tires. They were bought in February, and this is in May when we are having the accident. And they were tubeless, not with tubes.
Now, probably we need to get somebody to teach us more about that.
Yeah.
I mean, how do tubeless tires burst? It might sound, because on average, everybody thinks it's the tires that carry tubes that will burst.
Yeah.
And it's been said that if a tire is tubeless, it cannot burst.
Can't burst, yeah. But that's what the police report And what we had, because it started with the tire on the right-hand side, the rear tire. And then my wife asked, what is that? The late Joshua said, that's a tire. At that moment, I withdrew my legs from the pedals and remained only on the steering.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now you're with your wife.
Yes.
Seatbelts on. And before you can realize, the car is flipping over.
3 times.
By the time it comes to a stop, your wife is bleeding.
He's bleeding. All the
What had
glasses are shattered. Remember, it had central locking system, so my wife was struggling to open, but looking at the back, the kids were not there. So, honey, where are the children? So she gets out. She couldn't open the door. You know, it's in that split of a second,
Yeah.
everything had changed.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember that the car was on central locking system,
Yes.
so she jumps over the door to get out.
Yes.
People gathered, and then when I came out, said, where are my kids? When I got on the roadside, I said, God, none of my children is going to die.
Yes.
And it was Joshua that I first saw. Seems for him he fell on the road because they tell us the skull was cracked. And indeed, in that confusion, when they put us on the pickup, as I said in the beginning,
Yes.
I tried to support his head, but my fingers were going through his skull.
Oh my God.
So at that moment, I just said, God, take over.
I
I release him.
Your fingers would just
Yes, we're going through
dig
his
in.
skull, yes. Because there was somebody seated on the back of the door of the pickup, said, please try to support his head. So when I took my right hand to support his head, the fingers were just going through the skull. So I can only imagine that he fell on the tarmac.
Yes.
Yeah, because the others fell down the embankment of the road.
Yes.
Yeah. So while I was asking where are they were bringing, and the people were in the taxis, oh, yeah, food there. That one is dead. That one said, none of my children is going to die.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they went ahead of us to Iganga Hospital.
Now, here you head to Iganga. From Iganga,
Yes.
you're moving on,
Yes.
and to Molago,
Yes.
there is no attention.
Yes.
Then you helped somebody
Yes.
sometime earlier.
Yeah.
You educated them.
Yes.
And she's the one helping you out in IHK. So you get to IHK,
Yes.
and the ICU's units
Are full.
are full,
Beds are full.
are full,
Yes.
and they just keep you in the wards.
Yes.
So what happens? Did you get any injury then?
Yeah, I had an injury. All this was pulled off. All the ligaments, the tendons were cut, and all the bones. This finger was completely shattered. Actually, they have cut this joint. It's not the node. That's why it is shorter.
Yes.
The orthopedic of case, Dr. Okello, actually wanted to cut it off.
Yes.
But it is again Dr. Betty Kayinza of Capstone who
Who
said,
said no.
no, ladies don't allow that. So she's the
They wanted to
one.
cut off your whole wrist and
These fingers.
Oh, the fingers.
These fingers. Yeah. But and then of course my head has so many scars and stitches, which have now healed.
Amen.
But this finger is no longer functional. But still I can wash, I can peel, I can. But I don't want to strain it. You don't need to strain it. Yeah. And I received the graft from Dr. Hussein. Yes, at Capstone. But to talk about Joshua.
Yes.
Joshua is our very firstborn child
Yes.
with my husband. And we named him that name Joshua, which means Yehoshua in Hebrew, and Yahweh is salvation.
That's it.
Now, I think there was something unique about that boy and the name, that normally my husband names our children before I give birth. He says, you are carrying a baby boy, and I will call him Joshua, even our only daughter, Rachel. He said, you are carrying a girl and she'll be Rachel, and then Joseph, Benjamin, Enoch, all of them.
Amen. Amen.
But with Joshua, I think when we look at this scenario, for us now as Christians, we have come to understand that he had a special call upon his life.
Yeah.
Normally, when our children are leaving home for school,
Yes.
I pray with them with the fasting for 3 days. And when they are coming back again, we pray. Now, that particular time, we had prayed with these boys for 3 days with the fasting. And during that prayer and the fasting, when we broke the fast, the last day, I keep asking, I asked each one of them, have you heard from the Lord? And then Joshua, it was so interesting that he said he saw himself somewhere, and then an army had surrounded him. They wanted to fight him. By that, while they came, light shone from heaven,
Yeah.
and then the voice told him that Joshua, you are victorious, and he saw this twice. Then when he spoke of that, he got a Bible.
Yes.
He stood in the family room and lifted his hand with the Bible like someone swearing. And he said, I'll defend the church, I'll defend my family, and I'll take care of my brothers. Now, after 2 weeks is when now we are planning.
You get the accident.
Yes, when my husband had just flown in, he arrived on a Sunday, and on Monday we were unable to taking them to school. And now it is only Joshua who passes on. And yet, after prayer, he had declared. But even before that, for us, we believe it was a spiritual attack anyway, because I had a very clear dream that people were laughing at me, saying, you thought you have everything, you thought you have prospered, but everything has been taken away from you. And now, here we get an accident. Why I want to relate all these stories is because as Christians, we need to be very sensitive spiritually and put on our spiritual antenna.
Yes.
So now, when we get an accident, it's Joshua who passes on.
Yes.
While we are at Case Hospital, is when I received this vision of an army man dressed like an army man with a sword and a baton and a pistol.
Okay.
Suddenly appears in the room where we are when all doors are closed.
Yeah.
And then when he appears, I'm so scared because all outside there is chaos and I'm scared.
Yes.
I try to close all windows and doors. While drawing the last curtain, this guy appears and he walks toward me saying, don't worry, I'm here for you.
Yes.
And he says, you are a family among families, that if there is trouble, I come and defend. And then he brings the wreckage of the car. And he says, even there, I was there. I was seated right there with you. And I am the one who saved. And then he opens his arms and he says, if there will be any more trouble, I am the way. And then he disappeared. So for us as believers, we concluded that the enemy had schemed destruction.
Destroy you.
But that the Lord
Came in.
and defended the family.
And sent his angels
Yes.
for you.
Exactly.
Preserved you.
Exactly.
And that no matter what we face or what we
Yes.
may see, angels are still ministering spirits.
That is
Yeah.
it.
Angels are still ministering spirits,
Yes.
and they still reach out to God's people.
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, I really believe that many of us would have been dead
That is
if
it.
Satan would have his way.
Yeah.
But God has the power to protect,
Yes.
to preserve us.
Pastor Rod, I want to add, prior to all this happening,
Yes.
I was in Sierra Leone and I had two dreams.
Yes.
The first dream was I was coming from office
Yes.
driving the horse of the trailer.
Okay.
You know, you have a trailer and a horse. So I was driving the horse, taking it to garage.
Yes.
It was about 5 kilometers away from the office.
Yes.
But midway, all the 4 tires burst.
What?
In the dream.
In the dream, yes.
In the dream,
yes.
4 tires burst. Just a dream. Then the next dream I have is I've had an accident, but I'm being taken at the back of a pickup. And the person who's the owner of the pickup has a relationship with somebody related to my wife. Now, we're talking about passing through the fire.
Yes.
So when we get back our conscience and we come back to normality, it has happened, we have to treat the wounds and the pains and get through all this. Yes. God brings back all these dreams to us. God still is still in the business of warning us. Yes. He's still in the business of informing us of things before they even happen, that to come. So partly we find our strength and courage in the Lord when we looked back to that. Now I'm driving a horse, taking it to a garage. We bring children from home, taking them to school for them to study, to fix them. Yes. If I may use that word, to fix them.
Yes, I understand.
And then finally when the accident happens, I was put on the back of the pickup with my son. Now, guess what? The owner of the pickup is a friend of my brother-in-law. And it's now this brother-in-law the friend tells him, I gave a lift to some people who had an accident in Namalemba, and then the brother was that time he was in Arua. He sees the pictures on all the TV networks in Uganda, and he says, oh, that's my sister and my brother-in-law.
It is so amazing when you listen to this story, going through the fire.
Yeah.
And Dr. Zanule with his wife, they had a car wreck that was so bad. Their firstborn passed away. But something that really encourages them and comforts them, that God actually warned them and told them this was going to happen, but they couldn't put it together. I would like you to understand, God loves you. He loves us. No matter what you're going through, He can still strengthen you. No matter what has happened, Satan will not have the last laugh. It will be God. And we're going to be back in just a minute, and we'll take it again with Dr. Zanule, how they've gone through this fire.
Unlocking marital bliss. Unlocking marital bliss.
Welcome back once again. My name is Cyrus Rod, and you're still watching Unlocking Marital Bliss. And this is a place where we bring you realities to succeed in marriage. Today I have the Zanule family, where they have gone through the fire. A wreck. It was so tough. They lost their firstborn. And right now, we want to continue from there. You went through the wreck. This happened the way you were moved from one hospital to another. Your pictures are all over the place. And before even that came in, you brought in something that was so pertinent before we went for the break.
Yes.
God spoke.
That's true.
God still speaks to people.
He still speaks. We confirm that.
He's not dumb.
No.
God spoke to your firstborn.
Yes.
And God spoke to you.
Yes, sir.
4 tires busting. Somebody would ask, why didn't God stop it? Why didn't he stop it? Somebody would come up with such, some of our viewers would be thinking. But one of the things is that he said, when you go through the fire, I will be with you. Not necessarily I'll get you out of the fire so that you don't go through it, but he lets you go through it for purposes best known to him as the maker. We would never ask him why, but he lets you walk through it. And he let you walk through it. Because some people say, oh, you know, if we had prayed, we would have averted everything. But you prayed, and I know you're prayer warriors. But some things God will let you go through it. He will let you walk through it. And this never destroyed your marriage.
No. It has brought us much
so
closer.
close, so
Has helped us
cemented.
to know one another better.
Did you ever come out to think, doctor, maybe to feel like you're going to accuse him that he was a poor driver? Or that temptation, where were you looking? How could you? My son died, and you know, all this kind of stuff that can easily destroy the marriage.
Yeah, sometimes such thoughts may come,
Yes.
but what gives us assurance that God was in it
Yes.
is what we have just said, that he warned of us of the schemes of the devil,
Yes.
and he proved that he was right there in the fire with us.
Yes.
And then we have confirmed that Joshua's passing was actually God's will.
Yes.
So I cannot again, having known that, begin accusing my husband, because after all, the entire family suffered.
Yeah.
We have suffered as a family.
And yet you've been knit together,
Exactly.
not pulled apart.
When we were in the hospital, many people wondered, even our relatives wondered what kind of man my husband is, to leave his work just to take care of his family. I could not wash, I could not bathe myself, I could not do anything with this shattered hand. He was bathing me, was bathing the boys. Okay, now before they came out of ICU, the nurses were handling, but when they came to a normal room, he was still taking care. He was running around, going to 2K to buy meals for us, ordering, running around to get money, to see that the bills are met. We are all in the same situation.
He never abandoned.
He never abandoned. He was sleeping down on a smaller mattress, while for us, we were on beds. You see that?
Dr. Zanule,
Yes, Pastor.
For 5 months.
5 months.
Yes, sir.
Your children were in ICU.
Yes. Enoch was in ICU for 9 weeks, and Benjamin for 7 weeks.
And I'm helpless.
And you became the in charge of the home now.
Yes.
Because usually our wives are so good at it.
Yeah.
And now when they're helpless,
Yes.
you don't walk away.
No.
You never
No.
found a new girl.
No.
You loved Josephine,
Yes, sir.
for better, for worse.
Yes, exactly. It was proven then.
It was proven there.
In sickness and in health.
That is it.
Yes.
This man has proved to you
He
everything.
has.
Doctor, when all this has happened,
Yes.
what work were you doing? Some people may think, oh, he's a medical doctor.
No. I'm not a medical doctor. Our viewers, I'm a multidisciplinary professional. I have a doctorate in business administration. I have a master's in business administration. I have a master's in quantity surveying. I have a diploma in civil engineering and several certificates in Christian and ministry.
Yes.
But for a long time, I've been working as a quantity surveyor, and now as I speak to you, I am working for an Italian company in Sierra Leone. It's called the Politecnica, as a quantity surveyor and land survey engineer. So I'm not a medical doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're working in Sierra Leone, And your wife is here.
Yes.
And you can handle it very good.
Yes, we can.
And I've also come to learn you're a pastor too.
Yes, we pastor church.
I wonder how many hats you wear now. You're
Yes,
a
I'm a
pastor
pastor.
also.
Yes, yes.
Pastors can still take care of their wives, huh?
They can. We can. We can.
How do you never be the same.
Unlocking marital bliss.